I know Turo has been around for a while, but I hadn't used it before, and I was curious if it's still a good opportunity, so I tested it out this past month. I'm gonna tell you the results, how much money I made, and go over the pros and cons. I rented out a 2019 Dodge Grand Caravan, and I did that because it's a vehicle that I already own. And with my wife's and my current schedules, we only use that a couple days out of the week. And so most of the week it's just sitting there. So I figured, why not rent it out and see if it could make me some money? And honestly, I think minivans are the sweet spot of opportunity with Turo. So get this, when you buy a minivan, you can get it for quite a bit cheaper than other vehicles with comparable features. And I think that's because of the stigma associated with minivans of them not really being as cool. So you can get them for a lot less. But then when you look at what they can rent for, they actually rent for a good amount compared to other cars. And so if we're just talking about pure investment versus what you can get out of it, I think there's a lot to gain there versus other types of vehicles. Combine that with the fact that most of the groups that are looking to rent minivans usually aren't looking to party in them and trash them. And I think that makes for a pretty good opportunity. Minivans are where it's at. I'll stand by that. Okay, so to the details. Really the only preparation that there was, cleaning the car, I detailed it myself, took some pictures of it, and then uploaded a bunch of documents to Turo for them to approve you. And then they require you to do a Zoom orientation. And I did that on February 28th. So February 28th is the day that I went live with my listing on Turo. Now on your listing, you can put when the car is actually available. I had to block off every single Monday and Wednesday because those are the days that we actually need use of that vehicle right now, which means that really people could only book it for an extended weekend, like Thursday through Sunday. Even with that restriction, every single weekend, except for that first one, for the month of March was booked. That first one wasn't, and that makes sense because it went live on a Wednesday and that would have left very little time for someone to plan a trip. But every single weekend after that, it was booked out through the weekend. So the demand is pretty strong. Now, obviously that varies from area to area. I'm in the greater Phoenix metro. I'm in an area where a lot of people go to visit. And so makes sense that I'd have stronger demand. As far as money goes, I made $896 for a total of 14 booked days. That averages out to $64 per booked day. Keep in mind what people are paying is actually more. That's what I brought home after all of the fees and everything. So I think that it was more around like $70 to $80 for the average daily price of what people were booking for. $64 a day is what I was bringing home. In terms of pricing the car, they've got a smart pricing feature where their algorithm automatically adjusts it for you based off of the demand they think there is for your type of vehicle. I just used that. I didn't want to invest a bunch of time into kind of playing the algorithm because this was just a casual 1-month test for me and the times where my car wasn't being used anyway. So let's talk pros. It was super easy. Every single time I got the car back, there was maybe half an hour work of just taking the car through the wash, doing a quick vacuum and taking some pictures. And so it was pretty easy side money. Not bad money when you count the time that was put into it. But as for the cons and the learned lessons, I did make a mistake of saying in the app that I allow for airport drop off, and I live about 45 minutes away from the airport. For one of the customers, I actually had to drop it off at the airport, which meant that I then had to Uber home, which cost me about 70 bucks. And then on the way back, I ended up having to pay like 30, 40 bucks in parking fees to get out of there. And the fee for the airport pickup was 100 bucks. So to me, that wasn't worth it because I probably spent a little more than that just on the travel and the fees. But worst of all, it took a couple hours out of my time, so I wouldn't do that. If I lived closer to the airport, maybe, but that was not worth it for me. Also, I'll put up a picture, but the door handle got kind of scraped up a bit from one of the people. I don't know if they ran into something, what happened. It's a small enough deal, and I'm not a really nitpicky dude with things like that, that I didn't charge them or anything like that. But that was a little bit of a bummer. I just kind of feel like when it's that minor of a scrape, it's probably just part of the trade of doing this, and so I let it slide by. You can pursue charging people for incidentals or even insurance claims, and I just decided I wasn't gonna do that. Now, if this is something you wanna do moving forward, I think one of the best things you can do is get a car wash membership, because every single time a trip ends, and the average trip seems like it's usually about 3 or 4 days, you're gonna wanna get that car wash. And usually those car wash memberships pay for themselves within like 2 or 3 washes. So that's definitely worth it. You gotta have that. But yeah, overall, I think it was worth it. I may continue with it, may not, I don't know. It's definitely not a home run. I've looked online and there's people out there on some forums that, you know, they get a fleet. They'll get 10 plus cars and suddenly they're making, you know, 100 grand a year doing it. But I think about $1,000 profit a month in a car is probably a safe estimate of what you can make. But hey, let me know what you think. Is it worth it? Is it not? And also, what do you think I should test out next? Let me know. See you soon.